Well, here's the story and here's the thing. 'Tis the tale of old Tom Bawcock.
A merrier place you may believe was Mousel on Tom Bawcock's eve. To be there then who wouldn't wish to sup of 7 sorts of fish.
Here, ever been to Mousel? 'Tis a handsome place now. Tidy arbour and cobbled streets that winds up the hillside like squiddy lakes, and the cottages all whitewashed with geraniums a dangling and a dancing. Well, 'twa'n't always like that. No, not when this tale came to pass 'twa'n't. For Mousel is just about as far west as you can go in Cornwall without getting your feet wet. And when the wind blows in from the Atlantic, it roughs up the sea proper and scours through those narrow streets like vinegar. And so it was some centuries ago, in a dank and dismal December. That withering west wind had blown in for weeks on end. 'Twere relentless, if truth be told. At least 6 Sabbaths had passed since the last fisher folk had dared to venture out. For the sea was boiling rough, fearsome and unforgiving, and no man in his right senses dared cast off and head out into that maelstrom. So the village folks were proper hungry, for fish was their crib, and they were reduced to the grushins, those dreadful dregs that were only one bite better than an empty belly. Starved they were, and bony they was becoming. So there was a great gloom all about the place, made worse by the hentin' rains that drove through every crack and cranny, till all was damp and mildewy, and hope was fading with the shortened winter days. 'Twas almost Christmas, see, but there was no cheer, not this year, not here. Doors were bolted against the storms, windows rattled, and anxious eyes peered through misted panes. But still the weather raged and roared all about. An eerie howling it made too, like some hellish hound. A sound that drained the spirits, and made the little ones wail with fear and hunger. All seemed hopeless. All seemed lost. Now in every fishing village there is a marner respected by all, an old salt who knows the ways of the sea, her moods, her fancies and her whims, and 'tis he who decides when the boats put out and when they must scuttle back to safety. Such a man was Tom Bawcock. Now no one knew how old Tom was, not even himself. But they seed that beneath his ruddy face and tangly white beard lay an head full of wisdom and knowing. He was stocky as the cliffs, craggy and weather-worn as them, too, I dare say, and his cracked and calloused hands were a match in strength for any man hereabouts, and all tipped their caps on passing him, especially at chapel time. The day was fading once again, as Tom stood on the harbour wall, braced against a buffeting blow. And with a distant look on his face, old Tom decided then and there that he would put to sea at first light to catch the morning tide, come what may. And so it was. The wind had dropped a little, and to the east a first sliver of blue cut through the squiddy inky horizon like a gutting knife. A sole lantern swung, making an halo shine through the muggy mizzle as Tom trudged down to the harbour. and he could hear the angry rush of the waves beating against the headland, crashing, challenging, daring him to try his luck against them. A salty cloud formed on his lips, and somewhere in the wind Tom fancied he heard his dear dead mither bidding him stop. "Tommy, turn around, dearest. Turn, turn, turn." And then another voice, deeper, but just as familiar. "You must do what you must do, and that's an end of it. Go well, my son, and I will sail with you." So Tom strode on, stubborn as granite, for his mind were settled and would not be changed. Till clumsy fingers untied the mooring rope, and soon his little boat began heading out into the dawn, into the unknown, into the mercy of the sea. But there was to be no mercy for Tom. As if the storm had spied an impostor, he roared and raged and whipped up the waves to help him repel this insolent intruder. Still Tom sailed on, skills pushed to the limit, every muscle tensed, every sinew taut, as he trimmed the sails and steered the tiller towards a reef where the fish should be wondrous plentiful. And sometimes, when the wind was strongest, the waves cruellest, and with brine spitting into his eyes, Tom felt drained and spent, empty. Then suddenly he would sense a presence behind him and find the strength of two men to heave on the halyard and to forge on through. 3 hours later, the reef lay below, and his net were cast. A short wait, and then the yawl, the slow, long, steady, hard haul. But as the catch spilled out onto the deck, Tom's heart sank deep, deep as the sea and darker than its depths. For these were not the fish he sought. They were a motley collection of codlins, congers, gurnard, horse mackerel, a few pilchards, a small skate, and some whiting. And in normal times these measly morsels would have been used to bait these lobster pots. But these were not normal times. Gathering the catch, Tom rubbed his wet beard and wondered, should he cast out again? Well, no sooner had the thought crossed his mind than the sea, well, she lost her patience good and proper, and she sent a drenching flow of surf across that boat, upending Tom and sending him a sliding and a slipping and a slapping across the wooden deck. Grabbing a rope, he clung on for dear life, for Tom knew that he would surely be drowned if he let go, just like his father afore him. On and on he held, but old Tom, he had heard the voice of the sea, had hearkened to her, and was wise enough to heed her warning. Dragging himself to kneeling, and with his very last drop of strength, he turned the tiller back towards the village, where flickering candles now burned at every window to guide him home proper like. Tom crouched low as the sea pushed and pummeled and propelled his boat toward the tiny harbour. Cheers greeted his return, and many a hand was ready to help him moor up alongside. Basket on back, Tom trudged up the Ardale to his cottage, kindled a fire, then sat a while to rest, to muse, and to smoke a pipe of well-earned baccy. Now old Tom may not have landed a choice catch, but he hadn't been a fish all his life for nothing. and he knowed more than most how to make the best of a bad job. So afore long, off he sets to borrow the biggest pie dish you'll ever see from Widow Tremaine, a crickety-rickety hill soul who lived 4 doors down. Soon he was mixing a pastry, rolling, then lining the dish with it. And working through the day, he gutted, prepared, and cooked up 6 kinds of fish, keeping the pilchards for the pie's crowning glory. Atop the fish, Tom carefully laid a cover of that pastry, then cut slits, pushing a pilchard up through each so that its head and eyes faced up towards the heavens. This was not done for effect, I tell ye, although it did look both mystic and magical, but rather so the rich oil in the heads of these silver darlings would drizzle down into the pie, making it succulent, sumptuous, and sustaining. And that evening, well, there was much merriment in Tom's cottage, for it seemed like all the village were there, crammed like sardines into its tiny rooms. There was music and feasting and drinking and dancing long into the night. And outside, the winds finally rested. The curtains of cloud parted, and the stars appeared brighter than ever before. And to this very day, Tom is remembered in the village of Mousehole. On December 23rd, Tom Bawcock's Eve, lanterns are paraded through those narrow cobbly streets, and stargazy pie is served at the Ship Inn, a fitting tribute to the man and to all mourners who risked their lives and put to sea that we might be fed, and fully with it. So let's raise a brimming bumper and toast them, one and all.
A merrier place you may believe was Mousehole on Tom Bawcock's Eve. To be there then who wouldn't wish to sup of 7 sorts of fish. When the murky wrath had cleared the path, Tom lends his fur to fry, and then a sad a bit a scat and starry gazy pie. A merrier place you may believe was Mousehole on Tom Bawcock's Eve. To be there then who wouldn't wish to sup of 7 sorts of fish. Next come fair maids, brave thirsty jets, as made our souls dry, and ling and ache enough to make her running short to sigh. A merrier place you may believe was Mousehole on Tom Bawcock's Eve. To be there then who wouldn't wish to sup of 7 sorts of fish. As each sweet clonk and else was drunk in bumpers brimming high, and when up came Tom Bawcock's name, we praised to the sky. A merrier place you may believe was Mousehole on Tom Bawcock's Eve. To be there